everyone that is coming in. Welcome to the Dragon Ball Superhero spoiler cast. We're gonna do a little bit of a non-spoiler first. We're gonna go into schedule here in just a second. But welcome everybody. If you happen to be new to the 5-9 Twitch channel, make sure you hit that follow button. Or if you're listening to this on anything that is audio related on YouTube, podcasts, you name it, make sure you follow us and keep up to date on everything that we do here. So, as everyone knows, Dragon Ball Superhero released in Japan about 2 months ago, give or take. Not exactly to the day, but you get the idea. And now it is finally starting to release in the West. And while probably a lot of people have seen it, maybe you've seen it other ways than the theater, to put that in perspective, we wanted to talk about it a little bit. So first off, here's a little bit of a schedule that we're going to do. First off, we're just going to simply talk about our thoughts on the movie. No spoilers at first, because we do understand that some people have really been trying hard to not get spoiled by the movie and everything, or maybe you've seen some stuff, but you're like, you know what? I still want to go in as blind as I possibly can. So we're going to be going with a non-spoiler talk, just simply how you liked the movie, what were your thoughts on it, how would you rank it amongst other movies and everything like that. Voice acting, Japanese versus English, CGI versus the past movies and everything like that with a more traditional anime style. Then we're going to get into the spoiler stuff, talking about certain characters, certain plot points and everything like that. So that's how this is basically going to go. So with everyone that we have here real quick, why don't we go and start with the big man himself, Nolar. What did you simply think about the movie? How did the flow time feel? How did the pacing feel? All of that stuff.
So yeah, the movie was pretty decent. It was entertaining. I will say that out of the get-go. It was very entertaining. It's pretty much, it's Dragon Ball through and through, right? So it felt a little off to me at points, and we'll get into it a little bit later. But overall, if you're looking for a good popcorn flick to sit down and kill, an hour and a half, or I can't remember how long the runtime is, but yeah, this felt pretty nice and concise, and just all killer, no filler kind of. That's how I feel about that.
Okay, all right, and just real quickly before we move on to the next thing was in terms, I guess we'll combine these two parts because you just talk about your general movie experience. CGI versus more traditional animation, which do you prefer? Just right off the bat. We can get into more details later once everyone's talked about just your experience, but real quickly, because I want to ask this at the end of everyone's first points, is do you prefer the CGI look that we had here where it was full CGI, or do you prefer more of what we have like Dragon Ball Super Broly in past movies?
So if you had to put a gun in my head and say which one would you choose, I would say non-CGI, hand-drawn all the way through.
Okay, so more traditional animation. Yep. Okay, all right. All right, so we got Nolar out of the way and done. Next, let's go with Joe. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I did definitely enjoy the movie. I wouldn't say it's the best of all the Dragon Ball movies. I wouldn't say it's the worst of all the Dragon Ball movies. It's a good modern Dragon Ball movie. I know sometimes we go back and we watch some of the older Dragon Ball movies, and there's a lot of epic moments in there, but some of those movies are they kind of lose a little bit over time. Like, they don't hold up as well as they used to. So I like the fact that this is a good modern movie. It's got more of that slice of life stuff. I love the Toriyama humor that's in the movie throughout. Just the character development is spot on, as it always is. You really feel like even some of the new characters, I know this is a non-spoiler, but I'll just say some of the new characters really grew on me, and I really like some of those characters as well. And then just like a traditional Dragon Ball movie, very epic fight scenes, which you can expect from Dragon Ball. Very entertaining there as well. In terms of the animation, I am very much an animation guy. For those of you that don't know me, I'm an art teacher. I love animation in general. Just whether it be cartoons, animes, or whatever, animation is a pretty big deal for me, and I am hardcore anti-CGI. I'll go more in detail if we're going to talk about it more in detail later. I can talk about exactly where I feel like this movie falls in terms of the CGI elements. But to me, the Broly movie can't be beat. That's my number one animation of all of Dragon Ball right now.
Okay. All right. Very cool. All right. Hydrus, what'd you think, man?
A lot of the same things. I like I feel like it's more of a more comedy movie than for Dragon Ball. Like, it had a lot of more funny moments than most of the films generally do, but I did not mind that whatsoever. It was pretty cool. Like when, Piccolo fist bumping Pan and stuff like that was pretty funny. But overall story, I thought the story was good. I didn't dislike it or anything like that. I like seeing the light being shined on the other characters other than Goku and Vegeta for once and stuff like that. So it's really good. In terms of the anime versus I'm 100% animation, like Shintani style, like Broly movie and stuff like that. I didn't even like the CGI element in the Broly movie that they did for that, but I just don't like CGI. It was better than the trailers showed back when they first dropped some of the first trailers, but I still don't like CGI stuff.
Okay. All right. No, fair enough. All right. Nate, I'm assuming you've seen the movie. What were your personal thoughts on it?
So I'm kind of on the lines with everyone's else's opinion on this. I thought it was great. I walked in with an expectation that it was going to be nothing similar to the Broly movie, and it exceeded my expectations. I really enjoyed it. Animation style, to me, it doesn't really matter. I am a huge animation fan of whether it be CGI or 3D animation or even hand drawn animation. I've always been a fan of all those. So uh, for me, I walked in, I knew the art style was going to be different. I was fine with that. And I thought it was beautifully done with the animation style that they went with. Everything from the transformations to the characters to the facial expressions, body movements. I personally just really thought it was incredible overall. There were some nitpicks that I have with it, but I can get into that later on throughout it. But yeah, that's what I thought of it.
Okay, cool. And I was gonna say Vil, but I guess he's not here right now. We'll quickly go to Minato real quick. What'd you think, man, of the movie?
Yeah, the movie's pretty good. I overall definitely did enjoy it, and I had a lot of fun just watching it. I went with a bunch of pals, and it was just a really good time, right? I liked, a little more, like Hydro said, there's like comedy aspects, like slice of life kind of thing right there, and I think I liked the more like relaxed kind of thing at the beginning, and then it really built up, I feel like, at the ending. Very fun. Just overall enjoyed it. There's good voice acting and everything like that, so I liked it overall. And when it comes to like CGI versus 2D, I'm not really opposed to either or. I think the CGI in the movie was done pretty well. And I definitely enjoyed the choreography of the fights and everything like that, and how the scenery worked together with the actual fights themselves as well. Um, and I would say I prefer like the 2D Shintani like art style above it, but I like the CGI for this movie better than like the Super Anime, for instance, which not really hard to beat that, right? But still, just as a comparison.
Okay. All right. Very cool. I'll quickly give my opinion real quick as the last one for this section of the spoiler cast that we're talking about. I saw the movie back in June with, I didn't get to go with Gresh, but he and I both saw day one. We have our reviews up on Five Night Animanga, so if you want to check that out, by all means, go and check out those reviews. But after thinking on it for over a couple months now and everything, and starting to see everyone else's opinions, for the most part, I found the film to be very enjoyable. It definitely has a lot more comedy to it than your typical just fight type of Dragon Ball type movie. But that's not a bad thing by any means. I actually liked the humor in it. I loved the relationship that we got to see between Piccolo and Pan. I thought honestly that is easily the best part of the movie. Like absolutely no joke. I like that Gohan got a little bit of growth and a little bit more showtime as well. I personally, when it comes to 2D versus CGI, I've always been a more traditional anime style over CGI, especially just in the past with how bad it can be. Now that being said, this movie actually did. I did think it did the best, but I think overall I would still prefer your more Shintani, Takahashi type of style of anime over the CGI. But again, that's just my personal opinion. But overall, I still thought it was a very good movie. So, all right. Before we move on to the next part, does anyone want to throw anything else into the ring before we head off to the next topic? Final chance.
If we're going to talk more about animations, now the time to do it.
All right. Well, I mean, we can basically do that right now then. So,
Okay.
so we've talked about our overall experiences. Now let's dig a little bit deeper into the presentation, whether it is CGI versus more traditional 2D animation. Did you think the entire movie flowed well in terms of its look? There are, just based on when I first saw it, there were definitely a couple of rough spots in there sometimes where it's just like, whoa, like maybe it's because it was full CGI, you notice certain things way more than if it had just been a little bit of CGI and you hadn't, and it just kind of blows past you right away. So why don't we go ahead and let our teacher here talk about CG and traditional animation and all that stuff and give us a little more insight on it.
Yeah, so like for me, I went in it like in anime, I've never been a fan of when they do CGI, and I've watched some of these animes where they do the full CGI through the whole series, and I've never liked it. So I went into this finding out that it was going to be CGI, like very disappointed. Like I didn't want it. I wanted the Shintani, whatever. I will say I was pleasantly surprised. Like for it being CGI, they did do it very well, and I don't think it deters from the movie. Like it did work really, really well. I think it's just in general with this anime style or this specific style of CGI, I don't like it for a couple of reasons. A couple of you kind of hit on it earlier, but it's just there are parts that look clunky. I think sometimes the characters look robotic. I will say Whis specifically to me looked very robotic and very off-putting. But for the most part, if you're someone that's not really paying attention to animation, like you might not even be able to tell the difference. I know Goresh stated it in his review that, you know, in the fight scenes that mattered, the animation was spectacular. And I would say that I agree with that. And it's not that I'm just anti CGI. Like you give me a good Disney Pixar movie, CGI, fantastic. What I don't like about this CGI, it's basically they're using CGI, I feel like, to make the process easier. And they're trying to disguise the traditional 2D animation over it. Because that's essentially what they're doing. They're 3D models, but then you've got the traditional flat animation. And to me, I would rather, it's like they're taking away from what this pure 2D animation can be. And I feel like over time, we're losing that. Like studios are going more and more towards more CGI because it's easier, it's more efficient. And I don't want to lose that traditional. So that's why for me, the Broly movie was king. I'm sure it took a lot more work to do it, but to me, you get what you do. You know, you get what you pay for, kind of. Because in the Broly movie, they did do a couple of shots of CGI. It sticks out like a sore thumb in there, and that's why I was really worried about it. But because the whole movie in this instance is CGI, it does flow and it works. So it's definitely not like bad. Like it's not terrible. It's just for me, once again, stating why I much prefer the 2D animation. And that Broly movie is just so incredibly done. All right, I'm done ranting. Done ranting.
That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. I mean, again, everyone's always going to have their own, you know, opinions and everything like that. But thank you for giving us that, a little bit of that insight there. Nalar, how about you, man? And going a little bit deeper into the animation and everything, CGI, that kind of stuff. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, when Gresh said like it looks good when it mattered, that's true. The fight scenes look pretty good. I just think like overall, I think about like 40% of the movie looked decent and like I could tolerate it. But there's some shots that just look pretty horrid. You know, like they zoom out a little more and you just see the lines too much and it just doesn't look good. And the reason why I'm a little partial to animation is just, I guess, nostalgia. I am old. I am the boomer here. So like just looking at Dragon Ball Z, the old OG Dragon Ball, and then seeing the evolution of it, I guess it's just me saying I don't like it that much. But overall, it's not the worst because, as Joe said, the entire movie CG compared to Broly, where, you know, the majority of it was hand drawn and you could tell the distinct styles between it. But here, since everything is like that, like I said, about 40-50% of it looks pretty good. But the other 50, like they could have used a little more time to clean it up, I feel. But with whatever happened at Toei, the hacks and all that kind of stuff, they had to release it. They don't want to be sitting on it, so that makes sense to me. But overall, I didn't completely detract from it, but I know that if it had been hand drawn, because there are moments, right, the flashbacks which are hand drawn,
Right.
those look good to me. And
Oh,
I
yeah,
wish
no,
the
those look
entire
really good.
yeah, I wish the entire movie was like that. But again, if that was the case, maybe we'd be seeing this movie in like a year and a half, right? Like who knows?
Right.
So overall,
Well,
like that's just my feelings on that. Is that as an old head, I would like to see it all hand drawn, but overall, it wasn't the worst, but it could have been better.
Well, I think, or at least for me, when I saw it, like there are two parts. At first, it definitely felt more like this movie was a experiment, essentially, probably on two fronts. Probably be using different characters as the main,
The focal
roles
point.
in the movie, the
Yep.
focus of it, and everything like that, and also going full CGI, right? And I guess we'll have to see if they deem that a success after they've seen sales and everything like that, whether it's in Japan or worldwide. So it'll definitely be interesting, I think, to say the least, whenever we see whatever next Dragon Ball movie eventually comes out. Because let's be perfectly honest, it's going to happen. I mean, Dragon Ball. It'd be very
It
weird
prints
to not
money.
have it. Yeah,
They don't make
it
another
literally
one. They
prints
don't like money. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but it'll be interesting to see.
Well, for me, the last thing, like, it's not like I hate CGI as a whole. I think Demon Slayer, when their series, when they do CGI, it looks fantastic.
Right.
And so I just think depending on who you give it to, it'll look great. And in this case, some of it looked great, some of it didn't. So I mean, that's just my thoughts on it.
All right. All right. So how about you, Hydros? What'd you think overall?
I agree with Joe on majority of it. Like when anime movies or just anime in general does like CGI elements in movies or the shows, a big one for me was Dark Side of Dimensions from Yu-Gi-Oh. Like they had like the CGI monsters, but a lot of it was just flat, actual animation. And mixing that together didn't go well. Same thing with Broly movie. I did not like the CGI part of that. But as to points said here again, the whole movie's in CGI. It looks better that way if it was all done in CGI versus just parts of it being in CGI. And I agree with Nolar that it's just a lot of it felt clunky. It looked like I was watching cinematics of a video game sometimes, to put it that way, because it looks like it would be made in a video game format. You could definitely use that style in the game, and I think it would probably do well. But it felt like I was watching video game cinematics in some instances where it's like, clunkiness and stuff like that Nolar was saying. But as what Gresh said, when it really matters, it does pull through quite well. So it's pretty much what I have to say about it.
Definitely fair. Definitely fair. Minato, what about you, man? What'd you think?
I mean, I think again, this is very similar points. I think we all kind of think of the same thing, right? Where it really matters in like the big fight scenes, it looks absolutely like gorgeous. Like especially near the end, they really killed it there. But I think maybe I'm not sure if the rest of the movie kind of they focus on those ones specifically, and we're like not as caring for the other sections, but you can kind of tell the little dip in quality at times for sure. And I would say like you guys said, it's not as visible as compared to like even like I remember this back in not even just Broly, Battle of Gods and Resurrection F. They had like CGI aspects in there that stuck out like a sore thumb and looked really even bad, right? So I can't really harp on it as much because it just seems overall the same, right? Overall, I was fine with it, right? I didn't like I wasn't taken out of I feel like the plot of the movie or anything like that when I noticed or when I saw some of the little things that stood out. I don't think it was necessarily that bad, right? I still was able to keep my attention to the plot of the movie, I feel.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. I can understand that. What about you, Nate? What'd you think? What'd you think about more detail about the CGI animation, that type of thing?
So there were definitely some scenes that I thought, like others in the VC have said, to where it seemed like I was watching a bunch of robots or it was stop motion on screen. For example, when they're in the car and the main leader of the Red Ribbon Army is talking to the kid who I like to call Oreo Boy. When he was talking to him and they were having the conversation in the car, I noticed that their mouths were barely moving when they were talking. Now, granted, I went and
Right.
watched it in English dub, so it could have been just that, but it was really weird. It felt like I was watching either a stop motion video or a film that was not finished at all when it came to the CGI. It just seemed really weird. Now it got better throughout the rest of the movie, but there were at points to where it was a continuous thing to where it just seemed like their mouths were not moving. But when it came to like the battle scenes, it didn't disappoint to me. It really didn't. I thought it was really clean and beautiful, but um yeah, there were little tiny moments that it just seemed like it just wasn't finished, and maybe it's just like they didn't have time to finish it and the due date just came too soon and too quick due to everything happening. But other than that, it was just, I mean, yeah, that's all I really have on that part to go digging in deeper. So
Okay, no, that definitely makes sense. All right, and if you guys haven't seen it on the screen already, if you haven't watched us live, or again, if you're simply listening to audio, we just had Takuba join us. What's going on, man? Hey, what's going on? So we're assuming you've seen the movie. I mean, I guess you're somewhat of a Dragon Ball fan. You only think it's okay, right? Nothing a little bit. So I don't know if you've seen. We we kind of have a list of how we're going through things. We're first going with a simple. Just how was the movie experience first with you? Going in kind of first starting off with non-spoiler talk because there's probably some people who still haven't seen it. but just kind of giving your overall thoughts of it, and then also kind of combining that with what were your thoughts on the CGI versus more traditional 2D animation that we've had in like the Broly movie and past movies beforehand. Did you like it? Did you not? Did you think it was okay? Parts of it were really good. Other parts of it were eh. Go ahead and give us your thoughts on those particular two topics right there.
Okay, so for starters, I just want to put out like a general statement if I can too. The movie was great. I enjoyed it a lot. I noticed a lot of people are comparing it to Broly, which I've seen people say like, those two movies are completely different. No, they are both films. They are definitely able to be compared against each other. But I will say that, obviously if people like one movie over the other, that's completely fine. But this movie, I enjoyed it for what it was. The CGI in this movie is the best that Dragon Ball has ever done. I think we can all like agree on that because the CG that was in Battle of God, oh God, the CG in Battle of Gods was not good. The CG that was in Resurrection F wasn't good. The CG in Broly was okay, but this is a completely different tier, right? Like I remember that, they had one of those live streams when they were still showing off the movie and all that stuff, and they were saying like, they wanted to take a different approach with this movie. And I know a lot of people were skeptical because let's not cap, right? CG anime movies or CG in anime in general usually doesn't turn out that well, but they delivered. And although I heard Nate say something earlier about there was scenes where they're supposed to be talking, but their mouth wasn't moving. And am I able to like talk about the specific part that I noticed, or do I have to like keep that under wraps right now?
I mean, as long as it's not a huge, big spoiler part. Otherwise, hold on to it for a little bit, and then we can talk about that later. So,
I'll just jump to the part where it happened. So, it was a part where Piccolo was on the phone, jumping down from a particular place or whatever, and he was still talking on the phone, but his mouth wasn't moving. So, I'm pretty sure that was maybe them trying to rush and like get things situated for the movie. But that was only one instance I noticed where I was like, okay, like they could have taken a bit more time to ensure that his mouth is moving. And for all we know, like when they release like the Blu-ray version of the movie, they'll probably fix it. But yeah, but I mean, in a general retrospect though, movie was great. I enjoyed it. CG was fire. And honestly speaking, if they continued under the route with this CG, I'd be okay. If not, and they went back to like the Shintani style off of Dragon Ball Super Broly, I'm fine with that too. Yeah, I am Dragon Ball Superhero. That is all.
I knew you'd have some kind of corny line like that in there somewhere.
You are a superhero, huh?
It always
Emma
happens.
2? That's me. I'm him.
But yeah,
All right, I expect full
Dang,
costume and
I was gonna say
everything
Kuba at the end.
by
man.
Halloween.
Jeez, man.
Full
Yeah.
costume.
You're gonna end up like Gamma too, huh?
Cosplay. Let's go.
Cosplay,
got you.
let's go. Dakuba will have it on here in Halloween. You better make it happen, bro. You better make it happen.
So he's just gonna be lying on the ground.
Yeah, pretty much. Ouch. Alrighty. So, all right. So we talked about CGI and everything like that. This next one is always something that people love to talk about, comparing everything like that. So, voices. Whether you saw it in Japanese or you saw it with the English dub, I'm assuming some people here have seen it in both, or maybe only in English dub or in Japanese dub. What are your thoughts on the voices and everything? Whether it's just simply the performance. Did it feel shoehorned in sometimes, or simple things like with the English voices, was it synced up properly? Right, like we all know in past movies and shows and everything that sometimes you'll see their mouths moving, nothing comes out. Voices, other times voices will be going and no lips are moving. Right, so overall, what were your thoughts on the English and the Japanese performances and everything like that? How about we go, Nalar? What you think, man?
So I saw it dubbed, and I'm more partial to sub. To me, the comedy doesn't really translate very well in a lot of anime when it's dubbed. It comes off a little cringy, I guess is the nicest way to say it.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who doesn't know, sorry to cut you off real quick, but for anyone who doesn't know, there are a lot of, whether it's jokes or just comedy bits in Japanese language that cannot be directly translated into English. It is
Right.
absolutely impossible. And as someone who has, watched different comedies or listened to anime and everything like that, or seen how things are written out in Japanese, and then when they get translated, I'm like, it's not particularly the right way we go about it, but sure, it is what it
Yeah,
is. So, but yeah,
the
anyway.
best way to describe it is they're doing the best they can with what little they have, to try to convey this similar whatever meaning, style, or whatever the case may be. So again, I saw it dubbed. They have the sub one, but it was only one showing at like 11 p.m. at night or something. So I was like, yeah, I'm not staying up that
Yikes.
late. But overall, I thought the performances were pretty decent. Uh, there's nothing that really stood out as terrible in terms of like the voice actors themselves. So that's fine. But again, like I said, I'm more partial to subbed. I mean, now with respect to voices not matching, there's like desyncing, lip syncing, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, there's a few occasions. I think Inakuba mentioned one. There's a few other ones. Now, I can't tell if it's like the animators didn't do a good job on like the Japanese portion on the first part, right? Because I only saw it on one side, or were the voice actors not given enough notes not to say something or deliver it a certain way? So there's some of those issues, but again, you gotta like suspend your disbelief to kind of be a part of the Dragon Ball world. So it wasn't too difficult for me to do. But overall, I thought the performances for the English voice actors were pretty decent. Nothing completely outstanding. But again, I'm not one to judge on English voice actors.
Okay. Oh, definitely fair. So, Minato, what about you, man? What you think about the overall performances? I don't know if you saw it in English or if you saw it in Japanese. What are your thoughts?
I did see it in the dub, right? And I think that some of the little jokes and things that they did, I like you said, they probably they can't translate it over properly, so they did the best they could. I don't know, but like, there's one scene I remember that it's a little cringy probably to some people, but like, it's like near the beginning where Gohan is like Super Saiyan, right? With the ant that goes Super Saiyan, basically. I don't know. I thought that was kind of a little funny, and overall, I did enjoy the performances, right? We got to hear more of the Johnny Young Bosch Broly, I believe, right? In the English dub, and I thought he sounded pretty nice. And yeah, I didn't really have too many issues with like the actual performances overall. I wouldn't say like most of them were really like anything like stellar or anything that I feel like, was really, really cool. But I did enjoy it. And I guess the only one, I don't know if it was just me, but I don't know. I feel like Whis kind of sounded a little odd. I don't know if maybe I'm not used to the English dub Whis voice, but I just felt like it kind of sounded a little odd. That was just me though. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. All right. Joe, how about you, man? What were your personal thoughts?
So for me, like I am a dub fan just in general. I like watching dub, and I know that's probably a minority. I know most people probably like sub, and I think the sub voice actors do great as well. I just prefer to like listen and kind of enjoy the movie visually rather than having to read the words while I go. But I would say the big thing that people need to keep in mind when you're looking at English voice acting, and I've just gotten used to this with anime, like it's a very common thing in anime that the lips kind of just flap when they're talking, and then the English voice comes out and it doesn't match perfectly. Whereas when you watch Japanese, they typically match very perfectly. And I've gone to a lot of conventions. I've actually talked with voice actors and things like that. And for people that don't understand the process of this, right? Like, so a Japanese voice actor, they typically will record the lines first and then they animate to the voices. It's the same thing with like an English voice actor doing like a Disney Pixar movie. They do the acting and then it's the animator's job to match the acting. Well, English dub voice actors have the hardest job because their job is they're watching something that's already pre-recorded, and then it's up to the director to guide them to, okay, you have to match this pace, we need this tone, and then the animators have to go in and do some quick editing to try to match it up as best as they can to the English voice. So when you kind of see that choppiness in the talking, I kind of give them a pass on that because it's very difficult because there's multiple pieces that go into lining that up and making it work, and the English voice actors have probably a way harder job than say the person originally recording the voice for that reason. That being said, all these people that do these voices, they've been doing them for years, other than say for like new characters, right? But they've been doing this for years. They're all professionals. I think on both sides, English and Japanese, I think they did great all around. Once again, I wouldn't account the choppiness of the mouth to the voice actor. That's not their fault. It has to do with, there's a lot of pieces, right? There's the director saying you need to do at this pace. They have the original animation, and then how well can the editor go in and try to match that up? So overall, I would say whether you're a fan of English or Japanese, you're going to be happy either way. It's just going to be what your preference is.
Yeah, definitely fair. Definitely fair. All right. Let's see, Hydros, what'd you think about I'm not sure if you saw it in English, Japanese. What were your personal thoughts on it?
I've seen the Japanese sub. I have seen clips of the dub, so I kind of understand the dub for the most part, and definitely enjoyed the sub over the dub just because I'm like most people. I generally prefer sub over dub. Not to say that the dub voice actors or anything like that are terrible or bad or anything like that. Dub is still good. It doesn't really take away from that. But yeah, as Joe was saying, like the mouth thing doesn't really bother me too much because I know that when they do these movies, they're doing it according to Japanese voices, not to the English voices. So they're not gonna. They would literally have to go back and redo the entire movie to match to the English mouths. So it's like I don't see them realistically doing that even on a movie. But yeah, I understand. I'm not really too bothered by it being unsynced or whatever the case may be. You can notice it in some areas here and there, but you know it's just anime dub overall. If you're looking for it, you tend to notice it. If you don't really look for it too much and you just enjoy the movie, you're probably not going to notice it too much.
Definitely fair. Kuba, what'd you think, man? What'd you see it in?
Yeah, literally what Hydro said is kind of what I was thinking too. Like practically when I went to go see the movie, I kind of just enjoyed the movie, right? Unless there's like something that was like blaringly like, okay, no, like that, they could have corrected that or something like that. I kind of just enjoyed the movie for what it was. So like intricate differences from like the sub and the dub, because I've also seen the sub too. I didn't really pay too heavily like too much attention to it, right? Apart from one thing in particular. And it darn it, because again, I don't want to say the character's name. Well, I mean, the character's in Dokkan. You guys are showing it on the screen right now if you guys are watching the video.
I think at this point we could just go straight up. It's spoiler territory now. So
yeah, I didn't want to like just jump in there without knowing.
I think we're good now.
Okay, so Cellmax, right, is played by both the Japanese and English voice actors respectively of Cell, right? And I noticed that the performance of Cellmax in Japan, personally speaking, was a lot better than it was in the dub, only because the fact that with the sub you can actually tell, okay, yeah, it's Cell, but obviously not Cell, right? And then in the dub, it's like, okay, it just sounds like a monster, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I had no idea that Damon Clark even voiced Cell until I saw the credits. I was like, oh, well, all right, then I guess he voiced Cell. So like things like that made me slightly prefer the sub over the dub. But then again, like after realizing like, how amazing the voice acting was in the dub, personally speaking, I would watch the dub all day, every day. And on top of that, like, can we all admit that Piccolo is probably the funniest out of like all the Z Warriors? Like the performance that Chris Sabat did for Piccolo was pristine in my opinion. And the comedy that he brought forth with that character for the dub really made it shine. And even like some of the cringy parts, like I forgot who was talking about it specifically, but with Gohan talking about Super Saiyan Ant, right? Is it cringy? Yes, but it kind of fits Gohan's character to a degree. So it's like, okay, like everybody in my theater was like crying like when we heard that, right? So yeah, like I mean, I do like both of them, honestly speaking. But personally speaking, I would rather watch the dub a bit more, which is weird because when it comes down to Dragon Ball Super, I would actually prefer to watch the sub. But the dub for the movie was great.
All right. Definitely good thoughts on that. Nate, how about you, man?
Honestly, I've been focusing on this game that I've totally lost track of what the topic was. What is the topic?
Yeah, I see you're having fun there, buddy.
Yeah. Oh,
Candy,
dude.
but
Yeah. What? So English voices versus Japanese voices. I'm not sure what language you saw the movie in. Just what were your overall thoughts on it?
Okay. So I only saw it in English dub because, and I know, Joe, I believe you were the one that said this too, is when I want to go see a movie, I want to be able to understand it, chill out, relax, and watch the movie. I don't want to have to read. I'm not going for story time, or it's not a reading class, basically. So it's like, I just went and watched it in English dub, and I thought it was really great. I could tell that definitely the emotions that all the voice actors put into their lines for their characters was there. Like what the scene when Gohan literally was pissed off and found out that they kidnapped Pan. Just him going Super Saiyan right off the bat in the ground, just like creating this crater underneath him from his just pure rage and anger. It was just coming off from him that just you could feel the emotions that all the voice actors put into it. Piccolo, Gohan, everyone, all of them. So for me personally, I like the English dub. I didn't watch it in sub. I didn't really watch anything about it in sub whatsoever, so I can't really compare the two. But just from my experience of watching it in English dub, it was just the voice acting just really hit. It just really hit because you could just tell all the emotions and all the hard work that the voice actors put into it.
All right, very nice. For me personally, I saw it here in Japan day one, and I did not have an option to obviously see it in English or anything like that. But it's kind of weird though, because as a kid, I actually really liked the English voices for Dragon Ball Z back in the day. You know, especially when you had the rock music going with it and everything like that. Like, just absolutely loved the English voices and everything like that. Even in other animes like Yu-Gi-Oh and all that stuff. But for some reason, once I got into university, I would say there's something about listening to it in its original Japanese that I'm just like, yeah, it actually makes a lot more sense, especially some newer anime and everything like that, or going back and watching some old ones where it definitely was not in its. I will definitely say English voices for anime has definitely gotten a lot better for the most part compared to like way back in the day and everything like that. I know, showing my age and everything. But coming back to the movie though, I would say is that I absolutely, you know, all the voices they're the original voices that we've had since way back in the day, aside from a couple. Um, and I thought they did an absolutely outstanding job. It was really cool getting to hear a lot of lines from Piccolo and everything, because especially later on, after I would say the Cell Saga, he hasn't really had much chance to shine or really say or do much or anything like that. So it was really cool seeing him have a lot of lines, and then also just the comedy that came from him. I mean, you guys touched on it already about how he had a lot of funny lines and everything in the English voices. It was the exact same in the Japanese. And when I heard, you know, when he said certain lines, I was cracking up. Half of my theater was cracking up. So, and that's very unusual actually for a Japanese theater experience, because most people actually stay quiet. There's no cheering, or there's no, you know, huge gaps of laughter or anything. Even if there is a very funny moment, usually you are snickering and everything. But actually, a lot of people had a decent chuckle at some of Piccolo's lines and everything. So I thought that was obviously really cool. But overall, performances were really good from small to big. I will say, unfortunately, though, I thought, and this isn't saying that the voices were bad or anything, I thought it was a huge wasted opportunity to have Cell's original voice actor come back and basically just it boiled down to raw, raw, raw for the entire time he was there. I was just like, bro, really? Like, come on. Like, just
I mean, that's all it was. Yeah,
it was. I mean, go back and watch the review that Gresh and I did, spoiler and non-spoiler. Both of us agreed 100% that we're like, dude, it was such a wasted opportunity. It was, because like we originally thought that it would start off that we actually got to hear him talk and everything, and then something goes wrong, and you know, whether it's due to the science and everything, and then he goes big Hulk giant mode essentially. But no, it was again, to quote myself, roar, roar, roar the entire time. So you know what?
I would have enjoyed it a lot more if Cell wasn't raw, 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 but they did Vin Diesel's Iron Giant as his voice for the dub. That would have been the best thing ever.
That would have been pretty funny. I won't lie. So, but yeah, I mean, again, overall, I have seen some clips from the English voices. I thought they look pretty good, because again, a lot of people are reprising their roles, so that's always really good. But I thought the Japanese voice actors just knocked it out of the park. So, all right, so we've mentioned it a couple of times already. Takuba kind of broke the spoiler barrier and everything, which is fine. So let's just get into it now. So full spoilers right now. If you have not seen the movie, again, I know we're obviously showing. I mean, the games have already basically spoiled everything. So you're here. You're here for it already. So let's get into major spoilers and everything. So first thing, let's go ahead and get into the first part, which is Piccolo and Gohan focus. As everyone pretty much knows, usually Goku and Vegeta are the big focus, right? Of pretty much every movie. If you don't know from back in the day after the Cell Saga, Toriyama's original goal was to have Gohan as the main character since, Goku died. But that didn't go the way he wanted it to. And there's actually a lot of backlash here in Japan. And then by the time it got into the Western countries and everything, no one really knew about it at the first, but it wasn't received well. So to have a full movie with Gohan and Piccolo as basically the main characters, I'd also actually count Pan because, she's in it for quite a bit. They, I definitely would say they took a big risk, especially within Japan. Maybe not so much with the Western audiences, but definitely in Japan. So I'm just going to leave this open to whoever wants to simply talk. What are your thoughts? Was Gohan and Piccolo the focus the right call? Did you think that they should have had a little bit more Goku and Vegeta? Do you think that they should not have had any Goku and Vegeta to just truly test something out like that? What are your thoughts?
I would like to go first if that's possible, unless you wanted to go, Joe. But
No, you go, Minato. I'll go after you.
yeah, I mean, actually, me personally, Gohan and Piccolo, they're actually like my favorite characters of the series. So I, for one, was personally excited to see them to actually get a big role like that. We still saw some, like you said, Goku and Vegeta stuff on the side. They weren't really the main focus. So I kind of feel like maybe they're testing things out just to be safe. They had Goku, Vegeta, and like Broly still show up, just in case, right? I thought that, with how the characters interacted and with I wouldn't say necessarily development, because I feel like with, Gohan, we kind of been going through the same, kind of arc little mini thing that he's doing over and over, right? But I still enjoyed seeing the characters there, and I personally thought it would be a good call, especially, if forever we do get the anime coming back or something like that, we'll see plenty of Goku and Vegeta there. And just seeing all these side characters get more fleshed out, even with just like the communication they have with each other, I thought that was really cool. And with all the Goku and Vegeta stuff we've been seeing, at least in the most recent material for Dragon Ball, it was a little refresher for me.
Yeah,
Joe?
I'll jump in. I think it's great. Piccolo and Gohan were the focus here. I feel like it's good for a change of pace. Like not everything can be Goku and Vegeta all the time, and they definitely still made screen time. But Minato saying that these are two of his favorite characters. I know there's a lot of people that are diehard Piccolo fans, and this movie was absolutely fantastic for Piccolo for a couple of ways. One is a Dokkan player. We're getting new forms of Piccolo, so we can get some more linking partners. We need that, right? So that's the Dokkan emphasis there. But just in general, if you think about Piccolo as a character, we're talking about someone who was like the big bad boss of the entire series at one point, then to basically Goku's kind of equivalent. But then over time, Piccolo, they try to bring him a little back a little bit. Like he absorbs Nail, then he gets another absorption of Kami, and he gets a little power buff. But ultimately, Piccolo's just fallen off, and then you get to like the Universal Survival Saga, and he's basically relegated to almost like Tien and Krillin status, where he's a tactician. He's there to kind of delay. He's there to kind of enable another character, but he's not like the big attacking character he used to be. His power level's fallen off too much. So what I love about this movie is they're bringing Piccolo back as a relevant main like contributor battle wise. He has power level now that can compete with other characters. Piccolo really needed that because he is truly a beloved character in the series. So I think it was fantastic for that. And then Gohan's a very easy W here because I don't know about you, but like me, Cell Saga Gohan's one of my favorite characters in Dokkan, period. Or not Dokkan, but Dragon Ball. Here, my Dokkan mind going, right? But in Dragon Ball, period, Cell Saga Gohan, and I know he's a fan favorite for a lot of people. This essentially is bringing back Cell Saga Gohan as an adult. I don't know if we're talking about transformations yet. I could rant a little bit on the transformations, but maybe I'll let somebody else talk first. But I do have some opinion on the transformation, so I'll pass off to someone else for initial thoughts.
I want to say that when it comes down to Gohan and Piccolo being the main focus of a Dragon Ball movie, I know a lot of people were skeptical about that, right? Because even though like we do know like Dragon Ball Z was really supposed to be Gohan's story and all that stuff, people like Goku, right? They want to see him become stronger, get new forms, fight strong opponents, all that good stuff, right? Which is, in a general retrospect, is all fine and good, right? But it starts to alienate certain characters, two of which being Gohan and Piccolo, especially because it's been emphasized so many times and re-emphasized that if Gohan were to continue training or like get serious about it, he could be the strongest warrior on Earth, right? Stronger than Goku, stronger than Vegeta, all of that, right? So to have a movie finally focused around literally anybody else apart from Goku and Vegeta, apart from their like little small segments and all stuff, is nice. We actually get to see like slice of life between Gohan and Piccolo. Heck, we get to see Piccolo's house for the first time, which was actually pretty cool. And even going off of the movie itself and more with like statistical data, Dragon Ball Superhero has done so well in the United States as of right now that it reached was it $20.1 million in 3 days, and the Broly movie got $20.2 million in 5 days, and that's pre-Rona. So like to know that people are really going out there and supporting this movie, especially when the main characters are Gohan and Piccolo, also added the fact that there was darn near no promotion for that movie in the United States is incredible. And it just goes to show that, again, it doesn't have to be Goku, Vegeta, heck, even Broly or other named like villains like Frieza or whatever to like push a film like this.
Yeah, I definitely think that I agree with that. I do find it interesting though, because you brought up the whole promotion and everything like that. That wasn't just the U.S. Even Japan, its home country, had nothing. If anyone here follows me on Twitter, I have been posting pictures and random things about seeing promotional ads on whether it's TV, posters, you name it, for both Dragon Ball and One Piece, because One Piece has its film Red movie out currently right now here in Japan. And like, because Toei is in charge of the animation in terms of shows and movies and everything like that for the most part for both of these series. And yet for Dragon Ball, I never saw anything in terms of promotion until like the week before. Anything from a small poster in the train station to something on TV to anything like shampoo commercials or anything like that, right? Yet with One Piece, I've been seeing that since May, and the movie came out here in August. So it's definitely interesting how well a movie that has literally had no promotion, aka Dragon Ball here, has been doing very well. From the looks of it, I think Dragon Ball has actually been doing better in the West than it has in Japan. Just based on your sales that you just literally said, because it only made, and I say only in quotations because it still made a lot of money here in Japan, obviously. But in the like within the month it was out here in Japan, like One Piece broke that record in 3 days, right? And now you're saying that in the West, in the Western, some of the Western countries, it's still not released everywhere yet. It's already made what 20 million, right? In 3 days or something like that. So, maybe it's more of it could be a ton of contributing factors to it. Could be the fact that that Piccolo and Gohan are the main focus of this movie, because if you ask any Western audience, they have a variety of characters that people love, right? Whether it's Piccolo, Gohan, Vegito, Broly, Frieza, you name it, right? Yet if you ask almost anyone in Japan, they will say the same characters over and over again: Goku, Frieza, and the fusion characters. I ask my students this all the time. Sometimes when they find out that I've liked Dragon Ball in any capacity, or if I simply ask them, or I see them with a binder that has Dragon Ball stuff on it, I said, "Oh, who's your favorite character?" They always say those 4 characters. And then when they say, "Who's popular, in your home country and everything?" And I'm like, I mean, anything. Tons of people love Gohan and Piccolo, and they look at me like, "Really?" Like they're kind of like dumbstruck. Essentially, they're just like, "Huh, I never would have expected that." Essentially, so. It's definitely interesting that a movie where there's very little of the quote unquote main character is doing extremely well in the West. So, and again, maybe it's also a generational thing, because, my students are only high school, yet all of us here are, at least finishing college / out of college now and been working for a while. So, it's definitely something interesting to look at, I would say.
Yeah, I
I'm
was
gonna
actually Oh, I apologize. Well, I was actually gonna bring up, yeah, your students probably, maybe some of them even like started with Super. Hopefully not, but so like modern Dragon Ball has really been around, Goku, Vegeta, and those fusions, right? I wanted to point out in regards to like the cells. Apparently, from what I heard, didn't Superhero break the record for like the best opening day of all time? Like
Yep.
beat Pokemon the first movie, right? It was like it was like 23 years or something, right? Yeah. Oh my. That shows you it's doing pretty well. At least here in the Western for sure, right?
Yeah.
No, definitely. Definitely.
I was gonna say, Talent is One Piece CGI as well, or is it traditional?
No, it's more traditional. It's more traditional anime.
So,
So-
okay, I'm gonna throw my conspiracy theory, and then I'll wrap, and then I'll lead back into Gohan and Piccolo. So my conspiracy theory here is that Toei was like, all right, we're gonna go CGI. We're gonna make the focus Gohan and Piccolo. We're just gonna see how badly this tanks. Don't put the money behind marketing, because if you guys don't know, in like regular, I don't know if this is the same case with Japanese anime movies, but in regular movies here in like Hollywood, sometimes the marketing budget can be as big as the actual budget of the movie, right? Because you need to get butts into theaters to watch it, right? So some like and I'm gonna go off a slight tangent, like the Batgirl movie that got canned. Yeah, $90 million budget, but here's the thing: it would take them $30 to $40 million to market the movie to get people to see it. And if they think that wasn't going to be worth it, that's why they can't axe the movie. So again, wrapping it back up, my conspiracy theory, they're just like CGI. It's not that big. We're gonna give it a test run of full CGI, focus on Go on a Piccolo, and see how it does. And apparently, it's doing very, very well here in the West, at least in North America, which has already been released. There's a few other countries that are going to get it, I think, next week and the week after. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really enjoy the story. I mean, I've always liked in Z. That's where I grew up with Dragon Ball. I mean, I've seen the original Dragon Ball, but Z is where like nostalgia for me kicks in. Is the dynamic relationship between Piccolo and Gohan was always special. And again, once you wrap it up in the Cell Saga in the series. It felt great. Like that Gohan is fantastic. So to kind of revisit that, I felt great. And they definitely knew that because they hinted at it with, Gohan's transformation, the same red line through, and all that kind of stuff. So like they know what they were doing and they were hinting back at it. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm pretty glad that it was the focus. Now the question is, since it does so well, will they continue on with that thought process? And Pan was like a secondary character, but I enjoyed her being incorporated in the movie. So I wonder what they're going to do afterwards. Or are they going to go back to Goku and Vegeta? And for like the 5 to 7 minutes they had them on screen, they had to have it just to explain why they couldn't get a hold of Goku and Vegeta to fight Cell and the villains, right? So like
that's literally what it was.
Yeah, it's literally just that. So yeah, overall, I just think it's great to have it, and then I think Toei is just pleasantly surprised now. Be like, oh, maybe there's a market for different types of movies for different markets, right? So maybe that's what they're learning now.
Oh no, you brought up the thing about the Saga Gohan, right? I don't know. Apparently there's this clip posted that I saw. Essentially when Gohan does his scream at the end when he transforms, you could hear the Cell Saga like Kid
Scream,
Gohan
yeah.
voice in the back. That was sick, right? And your theory about the Toei marketing, I think that it just makes a lot of sense because. Like, look at what the marketing they did with Broly and then this movie.
Yep.
It's like a 9-day difference. They had the Gogeta trailer and everything. And then this has to be like some sort of test on purpose because it's like, no way they wouldn't like just be like, oh, I forgot or something. I don't know. But
Yeah.
like they know what they're doing. They have this plan. And I don't know if it's working for them or not, but I guess time will tell about that, right?
I gotta say, it's really dumb when people say that Dragon Ball's like falling off or like they're not as popular. No, Dragon Ball is still as popular as it ever was. It doesn't really matter what the marketing they did. That movie still would have done very well.
Actually, there's
Yeah,
one thing
it's doing well.
there's one thing I noticed too, because I saw this on Twitter. Yeah, like people say Dragon Ball is falling off, and I'm pretty sure some people are memeing and some people are actually serious about it. But there's one particular base that loves Dragon Ball so deeply it's darn near like a holiday, and it's the Dragon Ball base in Mexico, because like I'm pretty sure you guys remember seeing like Dragon Ball Super, like the last
Yeah.
episode. They had
Yeah.
tons of people gathered in that one like square, and like they're all like celebrating like the end of the Tournament of Power, and of course the last episode of Dragon Ball Super. And then a few days ago I saw that it was a long line of people standing like all outside of the theater waiting to go in to get their ticket to watch Dragon Ball Super Superhero in Mexico. And I'm like, that is amazing. Like I absolutely love seeing that. Like just the sheer hype and excitement people have for something like this. Again, even with as bad promotion as the movie had in the West, and again, like Talon said, even in the East too, like even though the movie had bad promotion, people are still hyped to see something like this. And I love seeing that.
I also see the fact. I know that a lot of this is probably memeing as well, but like that Fortnite saved this movie. It's like no, it wasn't even a superhero collab.
No,
It wasn't even a superhero collab. Like, what are you talking
You know what's
about?
funny?
No.
Fortnite, didn't they have the movie trailer in there? It's like
Yeah, they do have. They
Yeah,
do
but
have it in there.
but the skins and all that stuff isn't
It's
wasn't
not
a
like
part
the
of
movie, right? If it was movie promotion, it would have been Gohan and Piccolo,
Yeah,
right?
you'd be running around with Beast Gohan that's bigger than Vegeta's head.
I think that's later by his hair,
Yeah.
dude. Oh my goodness.
Well, it's definitely interesting because you mentioned like other countries and everything, Takuba, like especially like Mexico and everything, whether it was a final episode or a movie's ticket sales and everything like that. I think it does go to show though that certain animation movies do better in different countries, which is kind of a statement to make, right? But when you look at something like again, the only ones I can really compare this to right now is Dragon Ball and One Piece because they've had movies within the last couple months next to each other. But One Piece has done extremely well in both Japan and France. But for Dragon Ball, it's doing way better than Japan in North America and Mexico and other countries and everything like that, right? So it will be interesting to see how well more movies coming out this year do in certain countries and everything. Has always been interesting.
Keep in mind that some countries actually don't even have the movie yet. Like, isn't it released like October 5th in France or something crazy?
I
Like,
think,
for
I think
Dragon Ball?
UK gets it in like a week or two.
yeah,
something
for
like that.
the
Yeah.
new movie. It's like October 5th for France, I think. Like, that's the latest. That's the last one. But like, there's still tons like of data we can even look at, or like, opinions overall in the fan base. So there's still like a lot of time to see how exactly this movie turns out.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Exactly. So that's always something interesting. All right. So does anyone have anything else they want to say on Gohan and Piccolo in terms of being the focus and everything? Before we go into the next topic?
I thought
mean,
it was
do we want to
pretty
do just before we move on? Do we want to talk about the transformations for those two?
Oh yeah, we do need to talk about those. So
Okay.
I was gonna make that a
Yeah, I
little
guess why
topic,
not,
but sure,
right?
why not? So let's talk about transformations because there is I definitely saw some interesting takes, I would say, online from the Western audiences compared to the Japanese audiences when it came to the two transformations. Because when Goresh and I originally reviewed this back in June, we both said, look, you're just going to have to accept how they get these transformations. There's no, you always hear the talk about, power levels and all this yada, yada stuff. I'm like, guys, you are just going to have to accept how they get these transformations. There's no logic to it, really. There really isn't. It's just simply, for Piccolo's case, he wished for it. That was it. That's how he gets it. You have to just learn to accept it. All right. Gohan.
Get ready for the granola arc. People be wishing for power.
I know, exactly, right? And then Gohan, right? Gohan has somewhat been training, but it's clear that his day job and everything and supporting his family is his focus. And he gets mad a little bit. He goes ultimate, and then he just, gets angrier, and he goes, quote unquote.
It's a throwback to
right.
the original Cell Gohan.
Yeah, it is.
He
It
literally
is,
sees
right?
Piccolo
It is.
get destroyed in front of him, which to me, I just quickly, I think that was Piccolo's plan, was to let himself get that way. But
Right. Exactly.
I could see that for sure, right? And
Yep.
the thing about just Dragon Ball Super recently is that you could tell, obviously, like all these characters are getting their separate forms. They're trying to like distinctively let these characters get their forms their own way and kind of progress their characters like that. So it's like they're gonna find some way to get that done. I mean, with Piccolo, it's like it's a little cool that Piccolo, gets his new power with the Dragon Balls, considering Piccolo's character, right? And Gohan, obviously, the same thing that we've seen with Gohan in the past, his anger and his like care for his friends and family, right? So I personally enjoyed how they got their transformations, even though it wasn't like the most like thought out thing ever. Considering it was just in this movie, I personally enjoyed the way that it went through.
Well, I would even say that the way how they got their transformations all around was justified, right? And
Yep.
the reason why I said that is because in Piccolo's case, it was extremely circumstantial because we all know Dende, he has the ability, but he's not at that age yet in order to actually use it to, unlock potential like how Guru did. So they were like, okay, cool, Dragon Balls, we can just have Shenron do it. And we even see that when Shenron came out, at first, he was like traditional Shenron, like, popped out of nowhere talking about, and if I can get this set, state your wish or whatever, right? And then
Okay.
afterwards, he stopped mid-sentence. It's like, oh, it's you, Piccolo. Like the freaking Eternal Dragon has formed some sort of camaraderie with Piccolo, right? So, when he wished for it, it makes sense that like obviously he got his wish, but Shenron's been like with the Z Warriors for so long. He's just like, you know what? I'll even hook you up with a bit extra. So Orange Piccolo, okay, makes sense. But with Gohan, again, it was literally just an homage to Super Saiyan 2. And I think it's safe to say that when it came down to Gohan and fighting and all that stuff, he hasn't really snapped like how he did when he turned Super Saiyan 2. Like he got Ultimate and then he started like using that from then on out. And you don't really have to be pissed off to use that form. So when he snapped again, obviously him being older, stronger than he was back then too, then he unlocks some sort of new power. And plus that also goes along with what he said about him wanting to achieve new power, going a different route than how Goku and Vegeta are utilizing, their Saiyan blood and all that stuff. So like, I don't know, that's just how I view it. But last thing I'll say is Gohan Beast's hair, I think is okay. No, seriously.
I think some angles
some
make it
side
look
shots
worse
and
than it
angles.
is.
Yeah, 'cause it's kind of like when, especially when he's looking to the sides, like the hair is kind of like it's a little like
I
long.
think the
and
CGI
weirdish,
accounts
but-
for some of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if it was
like
like animated, it'll look better.
No,
Well,
seriously.
Tuba,
Yeah.
actually, one thing I wanted to jump in with the wish thing with Piccolo, where he was like, "Yo, Piccolo." It's kind of funny. Someone in chat brought it up, but they're like, "Yeah, Piccolo, like originally Demon King Piccolo killed Shenron, right? And then now it's like progress to a point where Shenron and Piccolo is like, yo, Piccolo, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of funny."
Yeah, like
Yo-
it's crazy to see how far like they've come since like back in the day.
To be honest, let's just remember how Piccolo got the ability to make that wish. They poured some water on the statue. Let's just.
All
be
right, look, we
real.
don't talk about it.
Does that really make sense?
Hey, it's the special Namekian juice, bro.
Special Namekian juice. It turned him orange because of that. He looks like a. You know.
He's like,
Um,
he looks like an orange, right?
Okay, so
Yeah.
my thing here with the forms, I don't really care how they got the forms. That's just how it is. This is Dragon Ball. They're gonna get new forms. It's just the way it is. What irks me in particular is ever since Super started, it's just been color changes. That's it. That's the name of everything. Like, okay, well, besides Super Saiyan God, it's a
Are
start.
you not happy with Gohan Blanco? Like, come on.
Yeah.
The
Or
Gohan
it's
Blanco
like-
lasted for years.
Right. Okay. So like, but then like, I hate to say this, and people are gonna hit me for this, but like, at least with GT, even though it's not canon, like Super Saiyan 4 is a unique looking form, right?
I agree.
And like, if I want a transformation, that's what I want. If I want like, and I understand that it was a Toriyama that said that when he went initially made Super Saiyan, it was just so he didn't have to color the hair. Like
That's
that
literally
makes
the
sense to me.
reason. That's literally the reason.
Yeah, no, I understand
Yeah.
that, but it's just like, yo, man, like, give me something else to get hyped about other than Piccolo's now orange, right? I mean, yeah, his design's a little different, but
What do you mean
essentially
his
he's
face
orange.
is
He
now
has a big-
Chad.
He's like huge too.
Dude, that chin.
not like just
that
a recolor,
chin. You
come on.
can't unsee the chin anymore.
The fact
like-
that he like was like, oh yeah, I can go big. I forgot about that. It's
Right,
like,
he forgot
Yeah,
about
that
it.
was good. He has a like little I don't know what to call it. It's like he had the
Giant
mark on his
forward
back,
board?
right? he's someone's a Giga Chad, right? Giga Chad Piccolo. I wouldn't call it like a recolor, right? I think maybe
A
Ultimate
recolor.
Piccolo, but
You realize
That's
he
just me.
loses the lines in his arm?
yeah,
Yeah, I noticed
Why?
that. That was so off-putting.
Yeah, he
it's
does.
smooth.
Oh, I did not. I don't remember that.
Like not
You
just
didn't
like the
notice that?
purple area, but like where his green is, where all the lines are. Yeah, he loses all the
Yeah,
lines.
that's the
It's like
first
they
thing I
just not
saw
wanna
when
draw
like
it.
when it was shown in the original trailer. It was like, oh, he just lost his lines. I was like, what's the point with that? I don't get it, but okay.
What I will say real quick is, again, they really got to come up with some newer names. I mean, like Orange Piccolo, I don't really mind at all, right? Like it is what it is at the end of the day. But bro, we have Super Saiyan Blue, Super Saiyan Rose, we have Orange Piccolo. In the manga, we just gotta, something new. I'm not gonna say it out here because we're not talking about the manga, but a certain character got a certain form that has his name, and also that character has a previous form that's also based off of another color. Can we just give them names, please?
Yeah.
Just-
Yeah.
The
but
last thing you
that-
said could be applied to like any character.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
I
It's
think
spoiler free, so you don't know which
I
character he's
think-
talking about.
yeah, well, we
I mean,
know,
they
right?
could come out of the
Yeah,
blue
we-
and say that's not Orange Piccolo. That's Piccolo Shenron form or something like that. That'd be cool.
Well, I think there's two
Shenron
things.
Piccolo.
I think there's two things that people also need to remember, though. First off, is that just because let's say potentially in the for English translations, everything, they for some reason decide to call it, I don't know, Tan Piccolo, for example, right? Again, not saying they are, I'm just giving a basic example, right? But first off, so there can be different names and everything compared to the original, how they say it in Japanese compared to English. But I think the biggest thing also is just simply Toriyama he doesn't care anymore. He's been working on Dragon Ball both on and
Yeah.
off for what, 30 years or something like that. The dude has got to be tired
It's
of
like almost as long as Oda.
give-
has been working.
exactly. It is, right? And like especially with Dragon Ball, right? Like he went from his own work in the original Dragon Ball all the way up to the Frieza saga to having editors and everything critique his work a lot when it came to the Cell saga. The Buu saga allowed him to go back to what he did and everything, hence probably why Super Saiyan 3 looks the way it does, why Buu has all his transformations and everything like that. And then he helped out a little bit, I believe. Didn't he draw the original concept for Super Saiyan 4 and everything like that?
And
then
then
Dragon
all
Ball
the
was kind of
GT
on a
one, right?
right. And then he was on a bit of a break, but then they dragged him back in because of other movies. And then Super came back in its anime form and its manga form, where it's some of the interviews I've seen here in Japan they seem to be like he comes back for just a little bit and he'll give like little notes about what he plot points and everything. And he's like, all right, fill in the blanks, guys, do whatever you need to do, right? And then there are moments where he's actually back more and helping a lot more. And that's evident in some of the manga arcs and everything like that. And then after that, where you think he's actually doing a lot more together with it, he just like, okay, I need a break now and everything like that. So, I mean, in all honesty, I don't expect anything in terms of transformations to really change in terms of colors or how something particularly looks because he's just tired of it. He's probably like, dude, I want to retire right now. I mean, he could, with how much money he's made off Dragon Ball over the years. The dude just probably wants to retire in the end. It wouldn't surprise me.
Piccolo with his Chad face and the way he looks orange looks like he just had a bad tan job.
I
He just
was
a
gonna
bad
say,
tan job,
I-
and he's just really angry. He's like,
I've got a
Yo,
theory. Dende
Put him in
goes
his
to pour
baseball
the.
cap.
Oh yeah, his baseball cap too. No, Dende goes to pour the water on Shenron. He accidentally grabbed the tanning lotion, so that's how we got Orange Piccolo there.
Yep.
But I did want to say on Gohan, like the part I wanted to talk about the transformation is Gohan's hair does really bug me. I think Minato mentioned it earlier, but dude, you see that guy from a profile view, and the hair's like bigger than he is. I like the color of it's fine. I just wish it was the normal Super Saiyan 2 Gohan length. And then silver is fine. When I first saw it, it reminded me of like the old fan arts of like Super Saiyan 5, where like the hair is just ridiculous. It's silver, it's going everywhere. It reminds me too of like when you see online comics or like other shows make fun of Dragon Ball, because Dragon Ball is all about the hair, all the powers in the hair. And they used to do these outlandish
they're gonna have
drawings
a
where the hair takes up
Field
the
day
whole page.
with Gohan's hair. They're gonna have a
Yeah,
field day
his
with
hair
it.
is just a little too big for my liking. There are some angles where it does look good, but when you see him turn to that side view, it's just I actually like giggled a little bit the first time I saw it.
Dude, he's gonna get neck cramps. Let's just be perfectly honest here.
Yeah.
He's gonna be trying to hold that hair, but he's gonna be like, guys, I can't fight. My hair is he's gonna like
Yeah,
fall
the
back.
section at the end where like he de-transforms and he's like trenches his hair and he's like, oh, it's back to normal. He must have been in his mind was like, that's a relief, right?
But you see that's why he gets the power. The hair is actually like his heavy training weights, but he just can't take them off. So he's always got the heavy training weights on.
Yeah.
No. Imagine how much product it takes to leave that up.
Okay.
Just imagine. That's
All
why
right,
he has to go to school.
It's just super like just gelled up, just stiff. That's why it's not moving at all in the animation. It's just super stiff and gelled.
Like when they did the frontal view of him, he looks really cool. It just looks, it does look like he has like a big bird beak coming off of his face, but
God. All right, so we talked a lot about Gohan and Piccolo. Let's focus to the quote unquote other side, bringing back the Red Ribbon Army. We have not seen these guys, in all honesty, since the original Dragon Ball. Technically, yes, with the androids, we saw those in Dragon Ball Z, but let's be perfectly honest, they did not act the way or really, go forward with the Red Ribbon Army goal and everything like that, right? Red Ribbon Army is a callback all the way to the original Dragon Ball. So what were your guys' thoughts on it? Because it definitely takes a turn, because you start off with the Red Ribbon Army up until Cell appears basically like that, right? And then all of a sudden they just kind of wrap it up for the most part. So what are you guys' thoughts on the whole bringing back the Red Ribbon Army part? Whether it's the scientists that they broke out of jail or having Gamma 1 and 2, the main, I'll call him the corporate head guy who spills the tea on him, I believe, at the very beginning of the movie.
Carmine or
maybe I don't remember his name. It's been forever.
Magenta, right?
Yeah. So ignoring the Cell part, what are your thoughts on having the whole Red Ribbon Army back, essentially?
I mean, I liked Gamma 1 and 2 a lot for sure, especially Gamma 2. They're very cool. So I think them alone just make me happy seeing the Red Ribbon Army just brought back, just because I love those characters. But like, I didn't really care about, the actual, like, Magenta, Carmine. Dr. Hero was cool, but I mean, it's just really just a reason just to have Cell Max and then go on in there, it feels like to me. But I'm kind of indifferent, I feel like, besides the Gammas.
I was just gonna say, just as a veteran Dragon Ball watcher, someone that's been with the series, I think there is a lot of nostalgia to the Red Ribbon Army. And I did appreciate it was a very small part, but at the very beginning, I appreciated seeing that lineage of Dr.
Cool.
Zero. And because I like Android 21 as a character, and I would really love to see her brought into the main series, but just seeing that lineage that 21 was the wife and then 16 was the kid. Just that part I thought was very cool to me. Yeah, and I think I agree with Minato. I really like Gamma 1 and 2. The rest of the Red Ribbon Army, they're kind of throwaways for me. I didn't really care. But I like that, just what the Red Ribbon Army, that name brings with it, the nostalgia, and then, like I said, seeing that piece about Dr. Zero and that lineage was cool. But I do think that the Red Ribbon Army is literally... I feel like they went in to write the story and they're like, we want to bring Cell back. Okay, well, we need the Red Ribbon Army. They're basically like a tool to get the character they want.
That's
honestly,
all it
to me, it
is.
just felt the Red Ribbon Army, like the actual, I'm sorry, Nate. I just hopped in there, but the like a Magenta, Carmine, and then they felt more just like there for comedy. They didn't really, obviously not obviously like the main villains, but like just I feel like that kind of lowered down the I don't know, the Red Ribbon Army's back, but most of their scenes are just like there just to make you laugh. So I just felt like it lessened the impact that the Red Ribbon Army is returning and stuff like that. At least with those, which is why I took it a little less serious and probably maybe was intended.
Well, even at that, I personally believe that this movie absolutely could have been done without the Red Ribbon Army, and I honestly believe that the premise of the Red Ribbon Army really isn't there for Cell Max, because again, the person who made Cell Max was Dr. Hedo. Dr. Hedo didn't need apart from the funding, but in a general retrospect, if he wanted to build Cell Max and he had the resources, he absolutely could have. I honestly think that they're primarily there because of Vomi, right? This is the first time ever in Dragon Ball history that we've had a non-canon character in some way, shape, or form become canon. And correction, sorry, because I said not canon, sorry. A video game character becoming canon, right? it may not be Android 21 herself, but the human iteration of her is canon. And in order to make that happen, you literally need to implement the Red Ribbon Army in some way, shape, or form. That's why I think that they're primarily there, because like it was said earlier, apart from like all of that and even Cell Max, then they're there for comedic relief, which it works, for me personally. But yeah, they really didn't need to bring the Red Ribbon Army back. Like even at that, like Gamma 1 and 2 were great on their own. And especially and I need y'all to listen. Gamma 2, I am him. Okay. I don't know what else to tell y'all.
Prove us in a cosplay and we'll believe you, man. We'll
I'm
believe
telling you, I'm gonna get the cape. I'm getting everything. Gamma 2. Okay, when Gamma 1 and 2 came out in Legends, I was like, all right, cool. We got the Gammas in the game. And like I already like rocked with like Gamma 2's vibe, right? Seeing him in the movie, I'm like, okay, nah. Gamma 1 is cool, but Gamma 2's that boy.
I mean, even Gamma 2's voice actor, I heard this voice actor in the sub version. He voices a lot of these cool characters that I like. Like doesn't he like Light's voice actor too? In the sub, right? Like Light Yagami from Death Note, right?
Yeah,
a lot of cool characters. So that added another thing to me, at least in terms of the sub, right? But yeah, that's a little want to point that little thing in there, right, about the Gamma.
I was going to say even too, like in the dub, like Zeno Robinson was the voice of Gamma 2 and he did a phenomenal job. And even with the other characters that he voices, like, Hawks in My Hero, for example, he does his thing. He breathed life into the character in the dub that I expected to see from that character. And I completely respect it.
I have a different opinion. I think you kind of needed Red Ribbon Army, not for the Cell part, but for the character development for Gamma 1 and 2. Because it's from their perspective, they think they're the heroes. So the fact that they obfuscated it and said that, yeah, we are the heroes, we need to destroy the evil Capsule Corporation or whatever, gives them the conflict they need to be like, no, you're the bad guys. Red Ribbon Army's the bad guys. But the setup to it was kind of necessary for them to grow. So for me, you kind of needed the Red Ribbon Army, at least the perspective for Gohan, Capsule Corp, and everyone else to be like, no, you guys have a terrible history. Like, you're working for the bad guys. And Gamma 1 and 2 be like, oh, crap, you're right. We're going to flip the script and protect you guys and be the superheroes that we want to be. So, and that kind of gives a little more, and Dr. Hedo, I mean, he more or less a throwaway character, more or less, but it gives him some character development too, because he's like, I kind of knew, but I needed the money. And I knew that was wrong, and I had this certain goal, but I sacrificed whatever my goal was, which is to be a superhero, for the money to achieve and do whatever I wanted. So from a storytelling, writing perspective, that I feel like it kind of needed the Red Ribbon Army. Now, did they actually impact the story? Like, I mean, the climax at the end? Not really, right? They didn't really have too much of a hand in developing Cell Max and all that stuff, but for the beloved characters that are Gamma 1 and 2, you kind of need them.
Yeah, I definitely would say that. I definitely think the Red Ribbon Army, again, it's a throwback to the original Dragon Ball, right? Where a lot more of these enemies were not supposed to be really taken too serious. It was more, slapstick comedy and everything like that, right? So, and that's basically what most of the Red Ribbon Army was. I mean, Piccolo, infiltrates the base, and people are saying like, "Hey, man, you doing all right?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm doing fine, and all this stuff, right? Like, you really only had quote unquote one serious henchman from that entire organization. I mean, even their boss, trying to act all serious, and in regards, he was just, it was just comedy stuff, right? So.
Well, in regards to the story, it's like I would agree with Nalar. You did kind of need the Red Ribbon Army, because then you had the other underlying thing that Piccolo wants to train Gohan and get him back to where he was. So he used the Red Ribbon Army to do that, to kind of fake kidnap Pan in a way. So that all
because there's no other
organization.
Itself. There's no other organization on Earth that you could really use that with, right? I mean, like, unless some random
he just kind of stumbled upon
right?
him and got the opportunity to. That's I guess kind of like plot armor, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. But it all just fits into Piccolo wanting to train Gohan like he's doing with Pan and stuff like that. Then Pan beats the crap out of the other guy, and then the other guy rips off his shirt and is like, "Yo, I got all this like modifications," and then he gets bit by a bug. And
I think that like the actual like in terms of the plot, the story, they tied it in really well. The Red Ribbon Army. I just feel like it was more so like just something like, okay, how do we get this to happen? And then they ended up being like, okay, we could just use the Red Ribbon Army, right? Not like hey, we want to return the Red Ribbon Army, and here's what can come with it. It was more like a second thought, but they still did really well with it, I think, overall.
I think the Red Ribbon Army was to progress the story. It just didn't impact the story to be.
It's like more of a progressive thing, right? That's the thing.
Yeah. Although it would have been great to see Cell Max. Well, I can't remember the guy's name, the one that has like the ripped body armor on him. What's his name?
Carmine? No, Magenta, right?
Oh, Magenta.
Is it Magenta?
Right.
Yeah, him. I can never remember his name.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
Like, just stepped on him or something. It's like, I got this modification, smash.
Yeah, it's like he activated some Max and would have like he just like foregoing all the warnings and he got killed instantly. Nope. Yeah, it's like a I don't know why that reminded me like when Majin Buu killed Babidi for some reason. It's like no,
that could have been a throwback to that. Yeah, they could have done that. That would have been cool.
I'm just
throwback to the Cell Saga.
That dude Magenta really. I mean, for starters, look, Charles Martinet, GOAT. All right. Again, we have Mario in Dragon Ball. We officially win. We win. Like I don't know how else to tell you all this, but this man really got bodied by a bee. How does that work?
After thinking about it just now, though, could Cell Max stepping on Magenta be a throwback to Cell stepping on Android 16's head? Like that?
I feel like
it is literally just a remake of the Cell Saga.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been more so like, if he like crushed Piccolo, right?
Right.
But
right, because Piccolo's what enhanced the transformation for Gohan, right? But I just thought of that, like it just made me think of that for some reason. I'm sure that wasn't the intent there, but
Well, even at that, the movie had like a ton of like references. I mean, even like past the Cell Saga. I mean, there was references to the Saiyan Saga. There was references to dang, my brain died. But the only like Saiyan Saga reference I remember was like, the very ending of the movie, which, we all saw like how, Piccolo instead had to hold down, Cell Max. And then instead of Piccolo doing special beam cannon, it was Gohan. So yeah, like stuff like that. And there's other references in there too. I don't remember them off the top of my head. But yeah, this movie just had a ton of references to a lot of sagas.
I would have thought it would have been cool, like Gohan saying he was practicing the special beam cannon in secret. I don't know. I get the surprise of it, but I kind of wish, he was sitting in his office, kind of like doing like the motions of it or something, just while like see
Special beam cannon. Yeah.
Then you just see him in his office, like, how did he do that? He's like doing the motions. Like, that would have been a neat little pick there. Like Piccolo's watching him from the inside or something like that. From the outside, I mean.
I think.
All right. No, I gotta finish up what you're gonna say.
Oh, I was just gonna quickly say I think it's also nice that the movie actually ended without a Kamehameha for once, because Jesus Christ.
The special beam cannon looked like a Kamehameha a little bit.
Man, look, I would much rather take a blue special beam cannon than I'm so just oh god.
Well, you don't want to see like the Kamehameha?
Like I'll bring that up, dude. Like all the movies ended like Kamehameha or Spirit Bomb, right? So I guess that was nice seeing special beam cannon.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
so we're
I like
talking
seeing
about
the special beam cannon.
yeah,
Makankan Sapo. Makanka Sapo.
Exactly.
Right.
Dude, I need to teach you how to pronounce a few. And,
Yeah, you do.
You know, you're gonna need some of my private one-on-one lessons. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about probably, I would say, the most controversial part of the movie in a lot of people's minds, and that's Cell Max. I think it's I think when people started to see the spoilers and everything drop, or when people finally got to start seeing the movie, from the very beginning, you can tell who's going to be the big bad. But unfortunately, they just watered him down to a big mindless brute, unfortunately, and wasted opportunity, in my personal opinion, for both the character, but also the voice actors in both Japanese and English. Like, you bring back their voice actors to, again, growl. So the entire
It's just-
time, right?
It's just such a wasted opportunity.
It's a huge
Like,
wasted
why?
opportunity.
I
And
mean,
it's
even
like,
Z
it
Broly
could've
got
been
some
just-
dialogue.
yeah,
It could have
Z
just
has-
been any kaiju or just a random new, like, android. Like, I get Cell, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense because, like, the name Cell, but if they're going to bring back Cell, like, Cell, right? Actually bring back Cell.
Whose
Or
idea
get-
was it to make Cell shoot beams out of like every spot in his body, but not give him regeneration like the original?
That's,
I have no
Why
idea.
did he
Couldn't
not
tell you,
have
man.
regeneration?
Well, actually,
Uh,
he's built different because that cell's actually like a robotic android instead of a bio android.
He's built different.
Yeah.
I actually I hate him.
Literally.
I mean, like,
Walk-
legitimately, though, he's
walk
built
through
like
that
a
one.
safeguard, too. In his
They were
head, right?
they were developing the story for the movie, right? They said, "What can
Yeah.
we do for the climax?" Max, Cell Max, boom, climax.
Oh, my goodness.
I-
and
That's
and
like
I
some
do- and I do
Toriyama
see
actual
people-
thing, dude.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is like, technically he wasn't completed, obviously, right? Because he was in this giant cell pod and everything like that. But regardless, you could, I mean, it didn't even need to be for half of the fight or something like that. You could have had it where the ball opens up and Cell pops out deformed in or something like that. Or, he first starts off looking like his perfect form, right? And he
Melts
starts
like
talking.
Broly.
Yeah, exactly. And then he starts to get disformed, or he sees Gohan or something like that, and then he goes into his Cell Max or something. Fine, do something like that, but why bring back the voice actors if you're not going to actually have them speak?
I mean,
Right,
this Cell seeing Gohan wouldn't have done anything. This has no actual memory from the original Cell.
Well,
They
I mean,
could've-
they could
I don't
have
know,
just
they could've
made it up and
uploaded
be
his
like,
memories,
Oh, we have the
come on,
data
it's
stored.
freaking
Uploaded his
Dragon Ball.
memories.
Yeah, like they could have had like this data,
Yeah.
or like because they knew that the Z fighters fought Cell, right? So they had and they showed like the scene where like Trunks fought Mecha Frieza. So like they obviously have like all that data and stuff. They could have been like, oh, we just compile all of this together and Cell's back. Whoa.
Come on, just
Listen.
upload it on an M.2 drive. Don't put it on a standard drive, and you're good
Listen,
to go.
Like,
That's all you
I
gotta
don't
do,
care
right?
how they do it, man. I just wanted to hear Cell and see actual
Listen,
Cell.
the real hero of the story, the one who made this all possible for Gohan's special beam cannon to rip through his head, was Gotenks.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
yes.
Yeah, the
That crap
goats.
was hilarious.
Another wasted opportunity. My God, dude.
No,
And I hate at the end they actually fuse correctly.
Dude, they
and
didn't even
cancel
show
that.
him. I
Yeah,
hated
was-
that
oh my
so
goodness.
much. Dude, both Gresh and I were just like, dude, what the F? You literally show them doing the perfect fusion at the end to not even show them.
Like, come on.
Come on.
Yeah,
Like,
they
I
gotta
was-
leave you hanging.
I was so pissed about that, but I was happy for one thing in particular. Well, two things. One, finally, Goten and Trunks are actual teenagers now, and they actually explain
Yeah.
that in the movie, right?
Yep.
Which also that has to be some garbage because literally Gohan grew up normally, right?
Yeah, no, it is. It's literally just literally to stop the fans from asking it again, right? They're probably tired of hearing it at this point. They're like, fine, you know what? They're teenagers now.
Yeah.
So,
And
like, that's
the other thing is, we at least get to finally hear officially, like teenage/adult Gotenks, right? Which I think is actually pretty cool in the dub anyway. Because the sub, I mean, they have Heroes. Like Heroes has had the adult version of that character for a stupid amount of years now, right? But I've always wondered, okay, like when they grow up, like if they ever decide to fuse, how would they sound like? We finally got to hear it too. So I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. The sad thing though is we got to see them fight, and Goten did a lot more than Trunks did. Heck, at least Goten threw out a Kamehameha, right? But it sucks that they were all fighting and Goten and Trunks didn't even think to turn Super Saiyan. Because I'm
Yeah.
like, yo, really just gonna fight in your base form? You're gonna get bodied. And sure enough, they fused to Gotenks. They cracked Cell Max's head, but they got volleyball spiked into his head.
They didn't want
Oh,
to
yeah.
introduce fat Super Saiyan Gotenks in the series yet. They weren't ready for that yet, so that's why they didn't fuse.
That's in their
But
back pocket. Like
It's in
break
their, they got that one
class.
saved up for
Emergency.
later.
mean,
I
I-
wanted to jump in on this Cell Max though. I just want to say the easiest way to explain him, he's basically Bio Broly 2.0
Yeah, it
because
is. That's true.
that's exactly what he is.
Melter melt.
You
Yeah.
know what's crazy though? I would take Cell Max any day. Then we don't even speak of that.
Bio Broly's the goat, man. Shut up. What do you mean?
Bio Broly was just all bad. I don't
Bio
know.
Broly could beat Cell, Max.
Oh,
Happening.
All he has to do is suck him into that gelatin-like body. There we go.
Yeah, just absorb him and
Or just go
becomes
down Cell Max's
Bio
throat
Broly
or something. I
Max.
don't know.
Listen, hey, look, if there's any developers for Dragon Ball games that ever comes across this stream, for the love of everything that is holy, don't even consider Bio Broly for anything.
Yes,
That character
Bio
is
Broly
trash.
Max. Let's go.
Dude, Bio Broly's
You
gonna
know-
get
you know-
easy on Dokkan at some point. So
Oh,
You know what
God.
game would have really benefited from this? If from Cell Max? The best game of all time, Dragon Ball Breakers.
I will actually annihilate you. There's just no.
no, it's
I mean,
horrible.
DLC, right? Come on.
No, stop. The game won't even make it the DLC.
Yeah,
you say,
Cell
Dolly?
Max is I have no reason for them to bring back Cell. Like the best thing they could have done was put Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 and like make their own version of Cell and just use those two as like your hosts for it. The whole Cell Max thing makes absolutely no sense to me. Kind of sucked, and honestly, rather have Bio Broly than this one. But yeah, it's just disappointing overall how it turned
Okay,
out. Now,
let's not go too far with Bio Broly. Bro.
yeah, well, okay, sure. But the main thing is
Taku
though,
was about to end your life. He's just like, dude, I'm gonna.
the,
go
the one
over
thing
there.
is
Gonna be wrong.
the fight scenes between Gohan, Piccolo, everyone during that CGI, like the CGI during that section of the movie was actually very good. Like when Gohan's charging up the special beam cannon, it like visually looks very compelling, right? That's the one thing I was
Right.
like, wow, this looks great. I'm kind of in awe right now the way they, did the CGI, the colors, and then the special effects and whatever. So like that part was like really good, but what they were doing is killing Sal's, like shooting him through the head. Like, yeah, whatever. I can suspend my disbelief a little more in order to do that. But yeah.
The fact that Gamma 2 only took out his arm and not even all of his arm, just a piece. This is forearm. Yeah, he's laying on the ground like Yamcha now. What do you think? Gotenks put in more work that ended in him getting beaten.
Yeah, it was like Gamachu should have been the one to crack the skull, not Gotenks. It's like, I mean, he broke his arm off, which is cool, but it's like, I feel like it could have been the same thing. He should have like broken his actual like the skull section, but that's just me.
Cell's tail being a basic wrecking ball is yeah.
Interesting, I guess. Huh?
I would have loved it if they actually offered up Gamma 1 and 2 to be sucked up by Cell Max. That'd have been
I'm a little bit better. All right, final thoughts because we've been talking about lots of stuff. Final thoughts on the movie. Give it a score, 1 to 10. Give it a score. Just final thoughts. Go. Nate, start with you. We'll start with Nate. Let's go down the list. Nate, go.
7.5
score,
out
final
of 10 is my
Okay.
overall score. The reason why I give it a 7.5 out of 10 is because, and I'm surprised none of us mentioned this, is there was no memorable music. Broly movie had Blizzard, it had the Gogeta versus Broly song. Everyone remembers those. This movie had no
It's true.
music that I can remember, and I doubt anyone is able to remember. It had no iconic music whatsoever.
right.
So me overall, I like the animation, I like the story, I like how they rolled with it. There was the goofiness, which I enjoyed, and just the action. So yeah, 7.5 out of 10.
All right, Takuba, go.
I will give it an 8.5 out of 10. And the reason being is because the slice of life moments in that movie alongside of the comedy really reminded me of like OG Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. The action scenes reminded me of Dragon Ball Super. Everything seemed to have blended well. It did have some areas where it could have improved on, but all in all though, it's a great package. And I would say that out of the 4 recent or 4 modern Dragon Ball movies, Battle of Gods, Resurrection F, Broly, and Superhero, I would say this is personally my second favorite movie, with Broly still being on top. And if you're a Dragon Ball fan, you're gonna love this movie. Like, I really don't see any way how a Dragon Ball fan could hate this movie. You can have like some, gripes with it, but I don't see any way a Dragon Ball fan could hate this movie. Like, I think everybody should watch it.
All right, Hydros, what do you got, man?
Yeah, I think I give it about an 8 out of 10. The CGI and some elements of it were just kind of off, not really that great. But the final moments of the movie, obviously where it mattered, really pulled through, really memorable moments from that movie. I agree that there was not really much of memorable music, but other than that, I love the comedy in it. All the action in it is really good. It's just, the CGI elements and stuff like that are just not really for me. But I still overall had a great time watching it. It's still a very, very fun movie to watch. And as Kuba said, if you're a Dragon Ball fan, you probably are going to love this movie regardless, just because it is just a fun experience to watch it.
All right. Joe, what do you think? Final thoughts?
I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I like the story. I like the slice of life. I like the new Piccolo forms. I think that it was a great glow up for Piccolo. I think he really needed it. My main reason for bringing it down a little bit is I'm not a fan of the animation style, and I think they really missed the mark with the boss monster. I think they could have done more with Cell Max. Other than that, though, I thought it was a really good movie. But yeah, I'm gonna go 7 on it.
Okay, Minato, what do you got, man?
8.5 out of 10, like Nakuba, actually. I just think that, the character interactions, seeing my favorites Gohan and Piccolo back on the screen is really all I could ask for. And I think overall they handled the movie pretty well with the plot and the pacing. Again, there are some dips in qualities and things they could have fixed, like, giving Cell like some personality. But other than that, really, just an overall enjoyable watch. And I'm actually planning on seeing it again. So I'm very excited for my second watch of it.
All right. Cool. Noah, our final score.
I'm gonna give it about a 7.5 out of 10, kind of like what Nate said. He's right. We didn't even mention the music, and that tells you that's a glaring issue. Not necessarily like the worst thing, but seeing that Broly had some memorable moments, music, it kind of sucks. Again, there's a few things that I would have changed. CGI as a whole I'm not a huge fan. It wasn't terrible because, again, that's the baseline. So it didn't look that bad. About 50% of the movie looked pretty decent, but everything else could have been better. And then story development wise, it could have been a bit like Cell Max could have gotten some personality, right? Anything like that. Things could have been different. So in 7.5 out of 10, if we rate it behind all the Dragon Ball Super movies as a whole, I would say that Broly would be first, this would be second, and then the other two are whatever to me. So, yep, that's how I put it.
All right. Personally, for me, I'm going to say that I give it about an 8. I think I originally gave it an 8.5, but I think after I saw it again, and after thinking about it for a while, I think I got to give it an 8. Absolutely love the slice of life bits. No joke. Piccolo and Pan, highlights of the movie, even over Gohan. I'm just saying it right now. It is real. It's real. So I love the dynamic between the fact that he's training her, the fact that she doesn't hesitate to trust him for a second when he kidnaps her. And it's absolutely really just a touching moment between them, which I honestly thought really cool. The CG in terms I thought was good. I thought it was where it needed to be the best. It was good. Parts of it were definitely kind of hit or miss for me personally, and Cell Max was a big letdown because he literally brought back the original voice actor to not let him talk. So I'm gonna give him about an 8 on that. So anyway, with that being said, though, in terms of the spoiler podcast video stream thing that we've been doing here, thank you so much for everyone that dropped by. Nate, are you gonna be sticking around on stream a little bit longer, or do you have to head out?
I think I might stick around just a little bit longer, but I'm going to switch to Fortnite.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. So if you guys want to stick around for some more streaming, I'm sure a couple of you here are going to stick around. But thank you everyone that stopped by. Thank you to everyone who hit the follow button and subbed, and thank you for supporting the channel as always. And again, if you're watching this on audio format or anything, then thank you so much for everyone that listened. Make sure you hit the follow button and check out our social media pages to keep up to date on everything gaming, anime, manga, you name it. So I've been Talon with 5'9" here, along with Nolar, Minato, Joe, Hydros, Dakuba, and Ghostly Nates. We'll see you guys